Get ready for some late night basketball once again as the Sixers and the Celtics final time this season go at it. And can the Sixers take the season series? Welcome to the PHLY Sixers pregame show live from the Xfinity studio along with Derek Kyle. I'm Devon Bree, the president of basketball operations. We are with you on the late night. March 1st, we're here, everybody. No more snow. Thank you very much.
You can tell we're getting old. We're calling 8 p.m. on the late night.
On the late night, it's the Sixers and the Celtics for the fourth and final time this season. The Sixers currently hold a 2-1 season series lead, and they are looking to win the season series 3-1, and they're going to have to do so once again without Joel Embiid. We'll get into Joel and his latest injury. We'll get to our pregame picks a little bit later. Our show presented by Bet365, whatever the moment's never ordinary at Bet365. We'll get to some X factors from us tonight as the Sixers again look to take the season series, and we will again talk about the series and how it has all played out over the course of the 3 games that they have played this season. Only 4 total points have separated the teams in the wins and losses as the games went final this season. But let's start. Kyle, you were there at the arena. It looked bad as you saw the first half play out for Joel, where he looked really good. Second half, not as effective. Comes back in the end of the game. Tyrese Maxey delivers a perfect pass on the wing for Joel Embiid to knock down a 3 to pretty much put the game out of hand. And you mentioned post-game wasn't available, already out of the locker room as you guys entered the locker room. And we get the update as you were at practice on Saturday that he has an oblique injury that's going to keep him out for the first 3 games at least. And we'll see where things go from there. So as we look at it, as we get ready for this one tonight, they've played the Celtics and beaten the Celtics without Joel Embiid. But after having him come back after sitting because of the shin injury, you're getting excited of the final push.
You get the lift, and then you get the giant
just pull the rug out of
sledgehammer, bow, right over the head.
And it happens again. It happens again.
So with anybody else, this would be an injury that we'd sit here and say, it's inconvenient, but it's not a big deal. It's, Khalil Ware jumps into him, knees him in the side with a ridiculous, I don't know what he thought he was doing or accomplishing there. We'd say, okay, he's going to miss a few games. And we brought up, I think we've brought up his name recently, in street clothes, well-known, tracks NBA injuries, says this is typically like a 4-5 game injury, an average around 12 days missed.
Yep.
That's not a big deal. When it's Joel Embiid, it's just like, here we go again. Another injury. The good news with this one is it is one that, from everything I know and have read about it, it's just a rest, recover. You're not doing anything other than just sitting around waiting for it to get better. There's no special treatment. Those are all good things. And if you try to find a silver lining in it, you say, okay, he was dealing with the soreness in his shins. He alluded to the fact, he called it a stress reaction and alluded to the fact that it's something he's going to have to kind of deal with, play through, play around. That'll give him more time off of his feet or at least without being in a competitive setting, more time to recover that, less wear and tear on the knees. So he's getting a little more recovery time for both of those. And that's all well and good. But for the Sixers, it's that same old story of how do they play without him? How do they cope without him? You're just pulled back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, especially if you're Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, these guys who are available every night and being asked to play these major roles. You don't know what the day-to-day is going to bring. At least they have some certainty tonight and the next 2 games. He is for sure going to be out, but he is a hugely impactful piece of this team. And this was a matchup that I was curious to see what he looked like against this version of the Celtics, because we saw them early in the year, but then they make the Nick Vucevic trade. So how does that impact their second unit? Is Joel going to be able to kill Vucevic in those minutes? Is Vucevic going to drag him out to the perimeter? How does that work with the Jaylen Browns and the Derek Whites and how they play off of him and how Joel handles all that? Those were all questions that I would have liked to see answered. Instead, we don't get that. So it's not a big deal in the sense that he's not going to miss a lot of time from what we know about this injury. It's a medium deal in that they struggle to beat basically anybody without him. And this is a team you especially want to have Joel available for because they've been very, very good this year.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. This is, for the most part, I don't worry. Like, I worry about the chronic injuries that Joel has to play through, not so much the, small, annoying upper body injuries that should be temporary. But, first of all, you're at an important stretch of the schedule where you really need to hold on to that top 6 spot. Mm-hmm. You're trying to tread water without Paul George. And the way the team has performed when you've taken 2 of the 4 top players out has not been encouraging. I know there was an article from Mike O'Connor, my former colleague, earlier today about, I think the Maxey without Embiid and Paul George minutes, they're about treading water. That's the high end. That is when they are all on the floor. When you take Maxey off without the other 2, you get absolutely obliterated. I think it's a negative 14 or something net rating. So you have, first of all, you've got a team in Boston that's playing very good basketball right now. I think they've won 10 of their last 12 games. You really need this game, not just for the tiebreaker, but also just to try to keep spot in that 6th spot. And you now have to navigate this without Joel Embiid at a time when you already are down Paul George. It's going to be very tough. We have seen ample evidence that this team, without Paul George, without Joel Embiid, has really, really struggled, which you fully understand because all of a sudden you're asking Tyrese to carry an offense when pretty much everyone can load up to try to get the ball out of his hands and nobody else on the team can really make you pay for that. And it is look, I think he's probably going to come back and be fine. I don't think this is hopefully something that's going to linger too long. Mm-hmm. It is probably well-timed in the fact that he already had the shin problem. He probably should have been off, but he probably felt a little bit of pressure, not necessarily that anyone was doing it. It might have been internal pressure, but he probably felt a little bit of pressure to get on the court and play through that. But you've got to find a way to win a couple games here. At least once you get through this next stretch, you do get to some tanking teams pretty quickly. So hopefully they'll be able to claw out a few wins there.
Kyle, you missed the show the other day. I know you always watch it, but just to bring up Ash's name, Ash Monroe checked in for the first time in a while.
He's back.
And he gave us the update, right?
Yep.
21-12 in the games that he has played, in the 33 games that he has played. So there's the importance right there that they are just almost 10 games over 500 with the big fella out there.
Have we already
on
lost our bets on?
Yes, we have.
Oh, yeah, they're gone.
How many games he's going to play post All-Star break? All of us, by the way.
20, 21, and 22.
We were like, he's going to miss the back-to-backs. He's going to miss, and now it's just boy.
Well, the wild thing is what we were trying to, figure out during that time, we were only reacting to the knee problem. He's had 2 injuries since then.
2 completely separate issues, aside from the issue that we were trying to predict based on. Very fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the bummer about it. But look, they still have a game to play. They have played this team very closely this season where they have confidence in how they have played. And we'll get to that in the next segment of how things have looked over the 3 games because they're all the comebacks and the closeness at the end that they've had to all play through, both the Celtics side and the Sixers side. As the guys have said, this is a different version of the Celtics team that you have seen. They haven't played this basketball team since November. So, you're looking
pretty
at
early November.
Yeah,
too,
very early November.
November 11th
Yes.
was their last game.
Yes.
Completely different teams at this point.
Right. So to have Joel Embiid, look, he started the season, so he did play in that first game. Sixers win that second game. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but his absence, once again, just looking at how they were playing against the Miami Heat, you saw the difference in the first half when they were leading, second half when he wasn't himself, and how that game changed so drastically where it was a lot closer in the end than it needed to be, where he had to come in after sitting for a good while at the back end of that third quarter and the start of the fourth for Nick Nurse to call his number and just simply have him out there as a presence and then knocking down that shot. Having Joel Embiid miss this time, it stinks just because nationally televised game, big game against the Boston Celtics. And look, they may not even come close to catching them for a tiebreaker, but you never know. And for them to just simply believe that they can win, especially when they're at least almost as close to fully staffed without Paul George and feeling good about themselves, that would have gone a long way with Joel Embiid in the lineup. Unfortunately, he is not there. I wonder when he does come back, whenever that may be, what protection he may wear around that area.
Get him a flak jacket, baby.
Exactly, man. And look, they already wear stuff. Though when you see them with tank tops on already, there's padding on those as it is. So I am very curious to see when he comes back if he wears anything at all to protect himself in that area that is now injured with that oblique muscle. So when we get back, we'll talk about this basketball team in tonight's game. Sixers-Celtics, Sixers up 2-1 through the first 3 games. As Kyle pointed out, November 11th was the last time we saw the Celtics and the Sixers on the floor together. That was a long time ago, and these are 2 different teams at this point. So we'll discuss it, what those games look like, what we want to see from the Sixers in order to take the season series 3-1, how it could go the other way, where the Celtics even up the season series 2-2. It's the Sixers pregame show. No Joel Embiid. Everybody else is available. Joel Embiid is out. We'll get to the 3 games, what it takes to win this one tonight when we get back on the PHLY Sixers pregame show. Time to tell you about our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Over 90 million users worldwide, 780 live events each year, and you get early payouts in the NBA and the NHL. Where else are you getting that? Nowhere but Bet365. And you can always find great super profit boosts, regular profit boosts as well. It's a great place to place your wagers on the games that you love. Also, for new customers and new customers only, guess what? You get $200 in bonus bets when you sign up. That's right, win or lose. You're also getting that nowhere else but Bet365. All you have to do is sign up using the code PHLY365, deposit $10, place a bet for $5, and you get $200 in bonus bets credit to your account. Bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, family, listen. You ever having one of those days? No, sorry. Those weeks like we do here, 4 games a week, food is a priority, it's our fuel, and we forget to pack certain things. That's where the great people at Wawa comes into play. Wawa now has $5 deals all day, and honestly, it just makes life easier. How about starting in the early morning where we have maybe a meeting, you're running behind, you can grab the $5 big breakfast meal deal where we're talking about a sizzly, any sizzly, maybe a croissant, sausage, and egg and cheese, whatever you may like, hash brown, and any size hot or iced coffee. That's a full morning with $5 just in your pocket, available from 5 to 11 all day. Then later in the day, the value keeps rolling. Roasted chicken or crispy chicken sandwich, created your way, $5, and they even have the new teriyaki sauce as well. So start your day strong, fuel up whenever you need with Wawa $5 deals, limited time, exclusions apply. See Wawa.com for details. Gotta have a Wawa. Back here on the PHLY Sixers pregame show, Derek, Kyle, Devon, Bree. Thanks to all of you for hanging out with us. Quickly, as we talk about Embiid, let's check in on our super chat that does involve Joel Embiid. So we want to make sure that we address it here. And that is from Davon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Beats. Get Embiid. The D-Wade special pads everywhere. Well, we just talked about it. They do have the padding and the compression that they wear both in the tights and with the tank tops. They have the padding. So
all kinds of tech now, man.
We'll see what they have and wear. Who was that was wearing the one that had the padding in the shoulders for a while? I know I think Vince Carter, when he was wearing it, he had the padding in the shoulder. So they're everywhere, Davon.
Well, we just talked with Eric Snow on the celebration night for the 2001 team, who's like, the only thing that Iverson got in actual trouble for was the thing he needed, which was the sleeve on his arm because he had an issue.
Bursitis.
Yeah, so that was a little piece of, or at least a reminder of some Allen Iverson lore.
That is now just fashion in today's NBA.
Yes, it is.
Because of Allen Iverson, who actually needed it. All right, let's talk about the games that were played this year. 3 of them. Sixers, as we pointed out, 2-1 on the season. So game 1, a 1-point win, 117-116. Maxey had 40. VJ Edgecombe burst onto the NBA scene with 34 in that game. The Sixers had a comeback in that one. They were trailing big in the first game. Joel Embiid did play, but it was the 2 guards that were the story, especially VJ Edgecombe in that one. Game 2, home against Boston. Another 1-point loss, 109-108. In that one, Maxey had 26 with 14 assists in that game, but they lose by a point. And again,
that was the NBA Cup.
Had to come back.
Really, really tough loss because it was in the Cup in particular.
And then the final one, November 11th, a 2-point victory for the Sixers, 102-100. That was the Justin Edwards game.
Mm-hmm. And I was about to bring that up because
22 points.
It shows you how long ago that game was. Justin has had just a miserable second season and frankly has just been out of the rotation for most of the year.
Yeah.
He had very little momentum going into that game. So this is not to say, oh boy, Justin Edwards was on a roll for a while and that was the Justin Edwards period of the season, but that was his moment of the year. He won them that game in the second half with his shot making. And now he's a guy that if you see him on the floor, it's like, oh man, Nick's really throwing a curveball at the other team tonight.
Absolutely. So those are the 3 games, 3 finals. And as you guys saw with the graphic that Bree had up there, only 4 points separate the 2 teams in the games that were played this year. So Derek, it was a long time ago, but they were played 2-1. Something that really stands out to you in those, Joel Embiid had played in 2 of them. One of them. They went to Maxey and Edgecombe. And if you look at the numbers too, Edgecombe 34. Then he had the second game where it was a totally different game.
And the third game he had like 6.
Exactly. Yeah. He only had single digits, so he's averaging 19 points against them, which would be good numbers if you stacked them up of a 20 and a 15 here and another 17 here, and it just averages out to 19. But what stands out to you in this already 3 games that have played in the series?
I mean, what stands out to me is that I would be stunned if this is a 2-point game when all is said and done. This does not feel like the teams are at the same spot they were back in November in either direction. The Sixers mostly because they don't have most of their good players, and the Celtics because they have completely turned their season around and found their identity. Look, in theory, this should be a really tough matchup for the Sixers, in part because you don't have that guy to patrol the paint. You don't have that guy to draw double teams. This is a Boston team that really sticks their principles incredibly well, and they're going to hunt threes, which I don't know if you watch the Sixers. Sixers aren't exactly great at denying the 3-point line. And
that doesn't sound like that.
They are going to use their length to really pester the Sixers perimeter players, and they don't have all that many players who can dribble right now. So this is a game that I am really concerned about. You know, I think this is a Boston team that is pretty well positioned to pick apart what they're not good at. Mm-hmm. And with everybody out of the lineup, it's going to be really, really tough. Like we've said time and time again, Joel is an equalizer against a team like this. And they just I don't know what they're going to fall back to, especially if Tyrese, I think Tyrese is going to be trapped pretty much every chance they get. And I don't know who I truly trust outside of VJ. VJ absolutely has to have like a 20, 25 point game for them to have any chance. If he has an off night, if he's not aggressive, if he is, just has a down shooting night in any way, it's going to be really, really tough.
About how many shots would you like to see him get up?
I mean, he's got to get 15 to 20.
Yep.
I'm going Mean Girls. The limit does not exist. you can't put a ceiling on how many shots he should be able to get up. And I think for me, the thing that I have tracked throughout this matchup this year is it tells the story a little bit, at least in the early season, of what the scouting report on VJ was coming into the league and how that changed in the span of like 2 weeks, because that opener in Boston, they dared him to shoot a lot of those threes. They were happy to concede open looks to him. And he won them that game because he was not only just willing to take them, but he made enough of them. And then once he started dragging guys out to the perimeter, he did a fantastic job of getting to the rim, making plays all over the floor, not just as a scorer, but also as a playmaker, recycling the passes and whatnot. I think what we saw in the final game, particularly the one where Justin Edwards went off, is that they're not giving him as many, and they're also going to collapse on him in the paint. They have historically been one of the most aggressive teams at helping off of non-shooters. Yep. And so that's where I think the Joel factor really comes in, because if you have Joel as the center and then you have a non-shooter in Barlow, but a guy who will make shots in Oubre, VJ, and Maxey, it's really just Barlow. And if you're going to help off of him, Joel, in a lot of cases, can find the right pass, shoot over the defense, make enough combination plays of VJ and Maxey to neutralize that. Once you add an Andre Drummond and once you add an Adem Bona in there instead of Joel, then the Celtics have multiple guys to help off of, and they're just doubling Tyrese, and then they're walling off the paint. And that's exactly what I expect them to do tonight. That probably means that guys like VJ and certainly Tyrese, when he's able to beat traps, are going to have to live from the mid-range a little bit. The good news is that VJ has come out of the All-Star break shooting like gangbusters from mid-range. He's looked better mechanically there. The percentages are great. He just looks more comfortable as a mid-range scorer than he did a month, 2 months, 3 months ago. And that's really heartening in a matchup where you're probably going to have to use that quite a bit. But look out for them to, not to say they're going to play like the Sixers, but they're going to help off of the Barlows, the Jabari Walkers, Trendon Watford, guys who they don't trust or guys they don't respect as shooters. And they're going to stun at VJ, stun at Maxey, stun at any kind of driver, and just pray that the Sixers can't beat them from three, because most nights they've proven that they can't. Mm-hmm. One thing I think the Sixers have to do, if you're Nick Nurse, you're probably going to have to go 3 guards pretty early. Like if you see coverage from the Celtics in the first half that indicates like, hey, we're just leaving guys alone and we're allowing you to have those shots time and time again, you're probably going to have to play Maxey, VJ, Grimes, Oubre, and your big of choice, because you just can't live with their whole team sitting in the paint all game.
So Joel Embiid played in 2 of those 3 games. He played in the first 2. Andre Drummond was big in that final game where he was able to go out there and grab 13 rebounds in that 2-point win on November 11th. So very curious to see, too, once we get to the starters, which we will shortly, where he will lean Nick Nurse as far as the starting center here tonight against this particular group, with Neemias Queta starting and also Nick Vucevic out there on the floor too, how he wants to go with this one, because with Vucevic coming off the bench, do you want to match him up a little bit more with the veteran or the young guy and see how that one plays itself out? We'll get to that here shortly. But with this one for me, and we got a lot of people talking about in the chat, we're about to start talking about the X factors anyway, but where it's going to lean on a lot of these other guys. So Maxey has done a really good job all season long of keeping the turnovers down. Even in the games where he is blitzed and the ball is forced out of his hands, he generally makes the right pass, gets the basketball out of his hands, and gets it to the guys that need available to make the plays. So do that. Got to set these screens to get the ball back in his hands, though, on the move where he can do something one-on-one without seeing extra bodies. So whether that's a initial screen, something running across down the baseline for a pin down where he can come off that screen, find a good look, he needs that. Also, rebounding. Get the ball in transition in his hands and allow him to make a decision, whether that's to walk into a three-pointer or getting to the basket and finishing it himself, maybe even getting to the free throw line. They have to find a way to generate some easier looks for him, knowing that in the half-court set, he is going to be trapped. So as we now transition over to the X factors, saw a lot of Quentin Grimes and Kelly Oubre in the chat there of guys that need to have big games here tonight for the Sixers because of the attention that Tyrese Maxey is going to see with no Joel Embiid out there on the floor. Campaign's name has come up just as the extra ball handler as you guys are talking about him. So Kyle, either side, if you want to go Boston and the Sixers, but just looking at these two teams, X factors for tonight for the Sixers to win, and X factor on the Celtics side for them to maybe take a player away outside of Jaylen Brown, of course, that will not hurt you as much.
Well, I'll focus on the bigs a little bit. The obvious next step when we spend so much time talking about Joel Embiid's injuries is who steps up, who's able to give them, 30 good minutes. I don't think you're getting 30 good minutes out of either of these bigs, but Adem Bona has been a lot more productive and has frankly looked like more of a two-way player lately. The hands are better. The footwork's been better. The rebounding's been a little better. He's found his timing with Quentin Grimes and some pick and roll and just like basic drop-off stuff, playing out of the dunker spot. I think Nurse got asked about him the other night and said something like, when he's got chances to dunk, he's dunking it. When he needs to make a pass, he's passing it. Like, it's just the decision-making has been crisper and has just been more consistent from him in recent games, recent weeks. And so this is an interesting Celtics team, and that Vucevic, in theory, neither one of these guys is like a great matchup against, because when Adem is out on the perimeter, that's when he tends to slap down and commit a lot of those silly fouls. But he's also much more athletic, so he can go up and make him if you're going to make Nick Vucevic get into an athleticism competition on the defensive end, you can hurt him a little bit. Now, Queta, obviously, much different player, but he's bigger, he's burlier, so he's more of a physical matchup for a Dem. In theory, that's where Andre Drummond might be able to help you out a little bit. But so how those four guys on either team interact, how those matchups work, to me is a big key tonight. But I agree. Quentin Grimes, post-deadline or post-All-Star break, I should say, has been really pretty good. And he just makes such a difference because he's playing basically all those non-Maxey minutes with VJ. And VJ, for as great as he has been this year, when he hasn't had a true second option, like a secondary scorer to turn to, someone that he can feel comfortable with the ball in their hands, he's really struggled at times this year. So it's not just Grimes' ability to play in those 3-guard lineups and give them off-the-bench scoring. It's can they trust him as a decision maker in the non-Maxey minutes? Because if not, you don't have Joel Embiid right now. You don't have the guy who would just like dump him the ball and let him do something with it. They have to execute on the perimeter to try to beat this team in those minutes. Otherwise, you're saying, hey, Tyrese, play 42 minutes to give us a chance. And that's just, when you have 3 games in 4 nights, that's just not a recipe for success.
By the way, real fast, Derek, you mentioned Queta. Keep him off the offensive boards too, please. Mm-hmm. He averages
They're a very good offensive rebounding team.
And him by himself, 3 a game for Neemias Queta.
Yeah, no, I want to go back to something Kyle said about Boston, because for years when they first really started making their run, when Stevens really started setting their identity, they would give up like the most threes in the league defensively. Mm-hmm. But it was always the shooters that you wanted that they wanted to take the shots. They would give up like the most threes in the league, but also have like the lowest opponent 3-point percentage. And when you look at the Sixers right now, there's a lot of either non-shooters or questionable shooters who are going to be standing there out on the perimeter. And they just have to find a way to get someone like Barlow moving so he's not just standing in the corner, because the Celtics will give him that open corner 3 every trip down the floor, and they will live with that because, quite frankly, most of the time he's not even taking that shot. They just want to get the ball out of Tyrese's hands. I really want to see a lot of off-ball movement here tonight. And also, when Vooch is on the floor, like when he get him in space, and you really got to attack him because they're a very fundamentally sound defensive squad outside of that, and you've got to find the places you can attack, and that is certainly one of them.
Yeah, just for me, just find the 3-point shooters as well. Kyle always talks about how Deuce McBride can't miss, and he also mentioned Sam Hauser doesn't miss against the Sixers. So find Hauser, find Pritchard, and stay on Derek White as well. And I'll get to him in my pregame picks because this guy rebounds pretty well. Is also constant movement where the ball's not sticking, where it's allowing you to, if you're a pass too late, that may take away a pretty good opportunity, a good look for a guy like Dominic Barlow to get his opportunity at a shot and finish it somewhere around the rim. Maybe that little push shot that he has in the middle of the paint there as well. So very curious to see how it goes with Quentin Grimes and the rest of those guards out there. Let's get to the pregame picks presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up and get in on the action like we all do here at the PHLY network. All right, tonight you get two super profit boosts, profit boosts, same game parlays, 30%, 2 at Bet365. There are still some late games, 2 8 o'clock games, including the Sixers, and 2 9 p.m. games as well, where you can take advantage of Bet365. Let's see what we have tonight for me and Bree. 20 points for VJ on his average against the Celtics at a plus 250. Love to see it. And I went with, because Tyrese Maxey is probably going to have to get the ball out of his hands, rebound the ball as well to try to generate some transition opportunities on the move against a defense that may not be set. Over. I went with an over number here for Tyrese Maxey, 10.5 on the assists and the rebounds. And also Baylor Scheierman, I mentioned him. He's been rebounding the ball pretty darn good, and he's had double-digit board nights. I know I went low on 3 because the last game he had 3, and some of the other players were back in the lineup. But if he gets extended minutes, watch out for him to rebound the ball. He has a knack for the ball, and it finds him. That's a plus 115. If you'd like to combine those 3 and put them in the same game parlay, once again at Bet365, you can do so using code PHLY365. If you're a new member, sign up using code PHLY365. $200 in bonus bets, deposit 10, place a bet for 5, and you're in on the action at Bet365. All right, That'll do it for us. 10 minutes after the game goes final, we'll be right back here on the late night, on the Sunday night. The NBA setting us up. No Joel Embiid, no Jason Tatum, which was a big topic of discussion. We were wondering if this was going to be his debut.
All that noise, the pushback to national 8 p.m.
We should be getting ready for the post-game show right now.
Yes, we should. It's halftime right now, but if that's not the case, we have tip time starting here shortly in Boston. So 10 minutes after the game goes final, right back here on the late night. You're getting ready, right? You're maybe ironing your clothes, getting them ready for tomorrow, last minute setup for your work week for Monday. Come back and join us.
By the way, I love the
right
shout out
here.
from Maine who says Kelly is the X factor.
Hey,
I'm paying attention to that one.
let's see what Kelly Oubre does. Had a nice night. He had a nice couple of games. Davon, hate when fans say Maxey has to be more of a point guard. 6 out of the 10-man rotation isn't reliable outside of 10 feet from the basket, and 5 can't dribble past half court. That's from Davon with the last minute super
You ain't
chat.
wrong.
He ain't wrong. He ain't wrong. All right, so let's see how it plays out, Davon and everybody else. Back here, 10 minutes after the game goes final. Join us here on the PHLY Sixers postgame. For Bree, Derek, Kyle, I'm Devon. We'll see you right after the game. 2-2 or 3-1 season series win for the Sixers? We'll find out. Enjoy.